Support for Just Seen It comes from Fandor, dedicated to supporting independent films and filmmakers. Movies from around the world are available at fandor.com/PTV. Fandor, all for film. The illegitimate daughter of a Royal Navy officer is brought to England to be raised as an aristocrat.
What has she been named?
Dido, Belle, Lindsay.
She takes your name.
I am not ashamed.
We will call her Dido.
But being of mixed race, she is not treated as an equal. When she falls for a young lawyer, she begins to fight the oppression she's endured in Belle.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and I'm here with Zorianna, and we are here to discuss Belle. We've all just seen it. But first, I'd like to introduce Tim Cogshell to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a film critic with KPCC Radio, our lovely NPR station out of Pasadena, right here in lovely Los Angeles, California.
Very nice. So, because you're our guest, you get to tell us what you thought about Belle first.
Belle, you know, this is a lovely movie, but it grew on me. It sort of builds very slowly. The first act doesn't start off very quickly. But by the time it gets to the third act, you're in a rip-roaring romance and drama that I thought was really captivating, and it caught me up in it greatly.
You know, for me, I thought this film was a little too Jane Austen-ish. What I did like about it was the fact that it had a historical aspect, and that's what sold it for me. But the whole aspect of, you know, beautiful people complaining about who they want to marry, who they can't marry, who has enough money, all that social status, which I realized was part of that time, I just found it to be a little trite.
It felt very much like Downton Abbey, which is, I mean, literally that's exactly what Downton Abbey is all about. Who's going to marry who has money, who doesn't have money, and I feel like they were trying to appeal to that crowd, which is fine, and I liked Downton Abbey, so it was cool. But there was a point where I just felt like there wasn't enough meat to this to make it a movie.
Well, you know, you're right about that second act. It's very Jane Austen, Sense and Sensibility.
No, the whole film. The beginning with the dresses. I mean, throughout, it's all Jane Austen.
Those extraordinary costumes, those wonderful bodices. You can't go wrong with a bodice. I really love that kind of stuff. But I do feel like in the third act, when that courtroom drama comes into place, and when Belle starts to lobby for her own freedom, for her own rights as a woman, I think that the film really picked up then.
I agree with you to an extent that I started to perk up a little bit at that point, but I didn't feel like we ever had that big scene. She has a scene where she kind of defines her independence and wants people to treat her differently, but I didn't feel like we had that.
One defining moment.
Right, I wanted to stand up and clap,
yeah.
But I didn't ever feel like that happened. And I felt like the trial felt like a different movie to me. They kept on kind of jumping to it, and I'm like, and then they jumped back, and it was all people talking in,
It was too little too late, that trial. They should have really brought it in much sooner into the film.
The one thing that this movie does have going for it is some really extraordinary performances. First, Goode Mbatha Raw. I think it's just absolutely extraordinary in this film. Aside from being astoundingly beautiful, she can act. Which don't always go together.
Right.
It does in this film,
and
I think she pulls it off.
the camera loves her. Loves her. I mean, this woman is, you know, talk about star presence. She has it.
Yeah.
Dido, my dear.
Papa, good Lord, the Negro. She really is.
A lady. Capital.
I have no idea she'd be so black.
Did you not listen to the rumors when you were spreading them, Mamma?
May I present the second of my two nieces, Miss Dido Lindsay.
A pleasure, Miss Lindsay.
I thought Amma Asante as the director did a good job for the most part, but there were some key scenes that I thought really missed the mark. There's one where Dido, Belle, is accosted by somebody, Tom Felton from Harry Potter fame, and you don't quite know what happened. Like, he makes a movement and she doesn't cover it in the right way that you know what happened, and I kind of scratched my head. And she talks about it later, and you kind of get it implied at that point, but I felt like that's a big moment, and it kind of changed the course of the rest of the movie, and it just kind of fell flat for me.
Amma Asante, she's a veteran British actress, so she knows her way around the camera and around the set.
But she's not a veteran filmmaker.
She's not a veteran director, so you know, in some of these things you pick up by osmosis, some of them you don't. You know, an interesting aspect of this might have to do with what you bring to the cinema in the first place in one of these situations. Folks might notice that I'm black. And I think that that might have something to do with the way the film filtered through me. A few of those emotional moments, those gripping moments, the moment that you mentioned when she's accosted a bit by that mustache-twirling brother. It's a big moment. It's a pivotal moment. And she missed out on that one. A few moments later, Dido has that big speech.
Yes.
And I felt like that big speech might have given me back a little bit of what was missing in that previous moment. Goode plays that speech just absolutely beautifully. And I felt myself moving out to the edge of my seat. You know, come on, sister, you know, one of those.
She was just such a great role model. She was strong, she was sure in her convictions, she fought for the right thing. And anytime you see somebody like that on screen, a woman part like that, well, then you can't go wrong.
Belle doesn't have the emotional heft that I wanted it to have, but I think there's some interesting historical perspective here, so I'm gonna give it a stream it.
The film is a little too sanitized and formulaic to have much of an emotional impact, but the fact that it's based on a true story, that is its saving grace. See it.
Belle starts slowly, but it builds. Stick with it, and I think you found yourself in a high-stakes drama that's very romantic. And it's true. See it.
Well, our votes add up to 2.5 tickets, and that is a see it for Belle. To Dido Elizabeth Belle.
Cheers.
I'm Kevin, or this is Kevin? I'm Kevin. This is Kevin.